Hey, Mike.
Hi, everybody. Aloha.
Hi,
Hello.
Bernadette.
Aloha.
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Y'all
Elsa.
have a nice holiday weekend.
It was hot.
That's for sure.
Good to see you guys. Closest we're going to get for a while.
Allison, are we okay to go with 11? Does that make quorum, or I have to wait
Yes.
for 12?
No, you're fine. You have quorum.
Oh, no, Kelly just logged on. Okay. Okay, we're good. So, everyone, it's 1:01 p.m. Yay, we made it. I am calling our meeting to order, 1:01 p.m. This is our first virtual committee meeting. Our last meeting was in November, so someone could have gotten pregnant, given birth by now, and we wouldn't have known the difference. That's how long it's been. So it's literally a lifetime ago, and pre-COVID. So I hope everyone enjoyed their Labor Day weekend. Just a reminder, this is a public meeting under open meeting law. Committee members are in Zoom, and public guests are viewing on YouTube via the live streaming service. So if you are a guest, we ask that you please write your name and organization in the YouTube chat box so we can accurately reflect it in the minutes for this meeting. Okay, to start the meeting and document in the minutes, I'm going to ask members to introduce themselves with name and organization. So I'm just going to go to the next box where I am. So Kayala, can you start us off, please?
Sure. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see so many friendly faces on the call. I'm Kayala Peters, Vice President of Education and Workforce Development for Chamber of Commerce, Hawaii.
Thank you. Dag, I have you next.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Faustino Dag. Please call me Dag. All my friends do. I am with Leeward Community College, but I'm also the president of SHRM Hawaii.
Great. Michael, you're next.
Hi, everybody. Aloha. Hey, this is Michael Moser. Hi, Dag from Leeward.
Hi.
I'm also representing Leeward Community College, program coordinator for workforce development programs. Aloha.
Great. Allison, I have you next.
Oh.
Hi, everybody. Aloha. Good to hear and see everybody virtually. Good luck to everybody. Keep well and keep away from COVID. Good to be on the call.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks.
Troy?
That's all I've got.
Hi, everyone. I'm Troy Sulioka from the Office of Curriculum and Instructional Design for the Department of Education, and I'm one of the CTE specialists, and I think I'm just presenting today.
Yes, Troy is our guest today. Bernadette is on our committee, though. Go ahead.
Aloha. I'm the State Director for Career Technical Education, Bernadette Howard. Good to be here. Good to see so many faces I haven't seen in a while. Aloha.
Thanks. Helen.
Hello, Helen Sonpe, Principal of McKinley Community School for Adults.
Great. Evan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Evan Nakatsuka, and I work for Lana Kilo Pacific. Nice to see everyone.
Thank you. And Lois?
Aloha, everybody. I'm also representing Bernadette's office as well.
Sounds good. Dina.
Everybody, UH Manoa, Hawaii Language Roadmap, and nice to see everybody again.
Thanks. Jean.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jean Schneider, Associate Director for Sector Partnerships, UH System.
Thank you. Kelly, are you on?
Hello, everyone. I'm Kelly Miyamura with Hawaii P20 Partnerships for Education. I'm the Pathway Strategy Director.
Great. And then Tammy, is Tammy on? Nope.
Yes.
Laura?
Hi. Oh, no.
Oh.
Sorry, Tammy Chun from the University of Hawaii Community Colleges, a guest today presenting with Kayla Peters.
Okay. And Laura.
Oh, my sticker is on my screen. Sorry. Hi, my name is Laura Reikar. I am a guest today, and I'm the director of the Hawaii State Center for Nursing.
Thank you. And Allison, sorry to miss you the first time.
Oh, no, that's okay. Allison Tasaka, Workforce Development Council. Aloha.
Okay, and we have the hardworking staff supporting behind the scenes. Jeannie.
Hi, Jeannie Ota, WDC staff.
Okay, and then Melissa? Michelle, sorry. Are you
Hi,
there?
I'm Michelle from the Workforce Development Council.
Okay, great. I think that's everyone. Did I miss anyone?
I think Jason is also on. Jason Muraki from WDC.
Okay, and Vanji, sorry.
Hi, aloha. Evangeline Casinas, please call me Vanji. I am Choi's other half at the Office of Curriculum Instruction Design, educational specialist for CTE. With me today also is my administrator, Dan. Dan, you can unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Vanji. Dan Miyamoto, Office of Curriculum Instructional Design, Administrator for the Career Readiness section, here as a guest.
Great. Welcome, everyone. I think we have everyone accurately. So, okay, we're going to move to approval of minutes from November 21, 2019 meeting. The minutes were emailed. So if you can take a look, I'll give you a couple minutes to review and then entertain a motion to approve when you're ready. I know it's been a long time, but the WDC staff does a great job with documentation. So we do, kind of vouch for its accuracy. So whenever you're ready, can we have someone do a motion and second?
So moved, Yvette.
Okay, I think Kelly was the motion and Kayla is seconding. Great. No amendments, I'm assuming, correct? No, I don't see anything. Okay, sounds good. And just because it has been 9 months since we last met, I'd like to ensure that everyone had a chance to review our committee roles and responsibilities. I am new to this role, and I know that we have some new members as well. So I think Allison, the committee. Does there look like anything that needs to be amended or anything like that? Are there any questions? Okay. Our committee last year really worked hard to clarify our roles so that we were providing the appropriate support that's needed as a committee. So, okay, great. Okay, moving on. The first item on the agenda today is an overview of the U.S. Department of Education's Stabilization Fund Reimagining Workforce Preparation Grant Program. And I believe Tammy and Kiala will be presenting today.
Yes, thanks so much for having us. And Kiala and I are reporting on a new grant proposal that was submitted to the U.S. Department of Education. It's part of the CARES funding, and it's called Reimagine Workforce Preparation Grant. Just for those who are interested, it's being managed out of the same office that supports Perkins at the U.S. Department of Education. And so one of the reasons that we're coming to this group, we'll explain a specific role that was written into the grant, but here we go. The Workforce Development Council was actually the eligible applicant for the state of Hawaii. It's a state competition, and the WDC designated UH as the applicant. So UH coordinated development and submitted the proposal on behalf of the state and the WDC. It's a partnership of many organizations, including Chaminade University, as well as many of the industry partners in Hawaii. It's a 3-year, $15 million proposal. It was submitted a couple of weeks ago, and we expect to hear from the U.S. Department of Education in October. And so it is a 50-state competition plus the District of Columbia, and 8 to 9 states are expected to be awarded. I think our sense here is that, or my sense has been, we have a medium shot at getting this grant. And Leslie Wilkins participated in a call with other workforce development directors or executive directors of the boards and found that she thinks about 30 states applied. What is unknown, a little bit of a wild card, is how the grants will be evaluated in terms of a main criteria for this grant is the impact of coronavirus on your state. So for those who apply for grants, you'll be interested to know that 40 of the 100 points are related to coronavirus impact. So the impact, both in terms of quantitative data that the feds will be crunching, as well as the statements that were in the proposal about the impact of coronavirus, count for more than what your actual plan is. So that is a little bit of the wild card, but we're pretty excited about what got proposed. So we wanted to tell you about that today at a high level, and then also to, so we always wanted to tell you about that today. So the in particular, this committee was written into the grant as having a very specific role. And thanks, Yvette, for being in touch with us on this. And the role is to review progress and performance of the grant twice a year and to assess the deliverables. So it's really trying to tie together the work of the grant with making sure that there's the quality and outcomes that the state needs. And so the particular goals of this grant, I'm not going to read it here, but it's really to focus on looking at our training for in-demand jobs. And in particular, we looked at starting with short-term training and then building out an apprenticeship model that would allow for more advanced training that would lead towards advancement in career. And so we'll point out some of the key features as we go forward. But here's the big ideas. In the grant that was proposed, the first is to integrate the key findings of multiple initiatives. We have lots of workforce initiatives, so we're trying to bring together in this grant some of the key ideas of roadmap to recovery, promising credentials, which will be highlighted by Keala as we go forward here. The resiliency initiative that the Workforce Development Council just proposed, sector partnerships, Perkins, WIO. So really trying to use this as a moment to integrate a lot of those ideas. The second big idea is to establish more internships as a means to learn and earn, as well as meet employers' needs. So one of the big ones is to introduce the industry recognized apprenticeship program model. This is a new federally approved model of apprenticeships. So that's one of the big ideas of the grant. A third big idea is to identify, award, and track industry valued credentials. that are stackable. So part of the grant includes actually creating the information system and the data system that records and tracks these credentials. And then the fourth big idea is just to make sure that we have these clear career pathways that show how the education, training, and work experience and the credentials all build on each other. So one of the things we mentioned is that a big idea here was to integrate. And so Cal is gonna go over a couple of emerging reports that were used to inform the work.
Thanks, Tammy. Yeah, just a couple of minutes. So I want to share with you a little bit about a project called the Talent Roadmap for Recovery that was birthed in the pandemic by our partners at the Castle Foundation, Hawaii Community Foundation, and Strata Education Network. And so what they wanted to do was to come together and really identify the industries and the initiatives that everyone should double down on in order to really move the needle. And so this talent roadmap project had 3 phases. They looked at all of the different activities that were occurring and tried to understand which warranted being replicated and scaled in a post-pandemic environment to support the resilience and recovery. The second phase was to assemble cross-sector leaders in an advisory committee and really drill down on these core strategies. Also take a look at labor market data and understand which activities and which sectors were worth further investing and prioritizing. The third phase of this talent roadmap project was to verify strategies through analysis of stakeholder surveys. So a number of stakeholders and employers were engaged in the process, and then begin to look at some data and metrics. And so long story short, it really was to identify 2 things. Number 1, which industries necessitated further investment and focus in a post-pandemic arena. And number 2, which activities necessitated further investment in a post-pandemic era to, again, get us to economic recovery and resilience. This project is about to be launched this week, next week by Hawaii Executive Collaborative. I'm sorry, the results will be launched by HEC. So you're getting a bit of a sneak peek right now. I want to distill down the 51 pages to just 2 takeaways for you. So Talent Roadmap identified what the priority sectors were to support talent development and build a resilient economy. The 2-month project resulted in identifying these 3 sectors that justified further investment based on labor market data. Number 1, maintain and invest in our strong healthcare sector. We see a lot of work already happening by HAH and others in that. Number 2, leverage the range of opportunities in technology, including clean energy. So we could see forecasted growth and high wages in technology and clean energy. And then the third and final sector that was identified for further investment was the skilled trades. And for this project, it included sustainable agriculture, manufacturing, and construction. So these are the 3 sectors that have risen to the top to be focused on. The second and final takeaway for you all with the Talent Roadmap project was what were those activities that the project identified as being worthy of further investment. And the 3 activities at the real high level are: number 1, expand work-based learning. Number 2, rapidly reskill and credential dislocated workers. And number 3, grow sector-based strategies. So the grant that Tammy is talking about leveraged these findings and is consistent with what this report surfaced. That's the Talent Roadmap project. Again, it will be released this week or next week. You'll see Hawaii Executive Collaborative share the full report. We'll make sure that everyone on this committee has access to it. The second and final project that I want to put in front of you that Tammy leaned on as she prepared the Reimagining Workforce Grant was a project called Promising Credentials. And essentially, it's using labor market data and employer insights to identify what our highest valued non-degree credentials are for our community. And this set of promising credentials would be used to inform school design, CTE programs of study, career path work being done throughout the country, but hadn't really been done in Hawaii. So thanks to our project sponsors, P20, Chamber, Kamehameha Schools, and the Castle Foundation, we were able to embark on this promising credentials project. The report will be released in late September. And at the highest level, what it did was take a look at 666 occupations in Hawaii. It applied thresholds, both demand thresholds and wage thresholds to those occupations, distilled it down to what are considered 200 promising occupations for Hawaii, forecasted to grow, pay a family sustaining wage. Then we reached out to employer focus groups and utilized an employer survey to understand what those credentials were for those 200 promising occupations that employers valued. So the end result will be this list of, I believe it's 123 most promising credentials that employers in Hawaii value. This list will be shared in late September, along with a number of other tools and deliverables to help make this information usable and accessible by a number of stakeholders. But Promising Credentials, again, is another project that happened post-pandemic that Tammy has used to inform the grant proposal. Real high level, but hope that gives you a little bit of insight into two projects that have occurred in the last few months that have great merit and value for our community. So I'll turn it back over to you, Tammy.
Gala, can you advance it to the next slide? So this is a visual of how we envisioned that this grant would unfold in terms of a pathway. So you can really see here the connection between short-term training that leads to credentials, that leads to additional opportunities for training and just stackable credentials, and then on to further degree options. So the grant is built around this model because it's focused on dislocated workers with a lot of emphasis on the short-term training. And this will be available in the materials after, so you can see some of the detail there. But Keala, maybe the next slide, you can see that how we emphasized the number that would be of people that would be trained through this grant as a way to get momentum on this model. You can see those 3 different sectors that were identified in the roadmap document: healthcare, technology, and skilled trades. And that there would be, here's the metrics in terms of the throughput that the grant proposed. So I will stop there and happy to answer questions.
Well, thank you for all your guys' hard work, Keala, Tammy. That looks like a lot of things going on there. Is there any other support that you need from this committee for that?
We'll be relying on this committee when we get the grant, hopefully. But I think, Kale, one of the things we learned in the process is that a lot of people are interested in learning more about apprenticeships. And so Kayla and I are going to be working on some education opportunities for all of us to learn a little bit more about what's going on currently in the apprenticeship models, and then to look at this new model that has come out and get more familiar with it so that we can evaluate it. We think it's promising, but we want to make sure we're all a little bit more educated about the opportunities.
Great.
Hi, Tammy, Keala. Hi, this is Michael Moser. Again, just thanks so much for all your work and advocacy and always bringing us to the table for these opportunities. You know, yeah, the apprenticeship is a longstanding hot topic. This is grant funded. So in that regard, just wondering if there are thoughts or ideas for institutionalizing the apprenticeships once grants expire.
Yes, I think we would be looking at what we can learn from this process and then advocating for it. You know, state budgets being what they are right now, I think we have to look for results from the project to see how how much support we can get for institutionalizing it in terms of state support in the long run.
This is Bernadette. I think I've asked you this, Tammy, if we don't get the grant, would we still do these things? And as I recall, your response is yes. And so with or without the additional funds, this is weaving together an awful lot of projects that we've been working on. We've done years of thought and planning, and we know what needs to get done. And this is the way to weave it together. So with or without it, this group here needs to be a key player in making it happen. Glad you brought it to us. It looks really promising. I'm excited.
So I think to Bernadette's point, I think it's very promising for us to move forward. The grant would obviously put resources to allow us to accelerate the work in terms of the infrastructure work, as well as providing, it has stipends, tuition stipends to allow us to move, provide more access to people. So that would, it would definitely move us faster if we had the grant, but I think we're going to start moving in this direction, at least on a learning agenda.
One more question. You said these were care funds. I thought the CARES fund had to be spent by December. This is a separate.
This is on the federal side, so it's a different pot of funds. It is, if we are awarded this grant, it would be starting in October for up to 3 years.
Okay.
Great work. Thank you so much. Okay, so for this particular grant program, it's already been submitted, and the chair of WDC, Leslie, is aware. So there's not actually an approval or a motion or anything like that. So I know that we'll all just be anxious to hear during our next committee update on if we actually get the grant. Thank you so much for your guys' hard work on this one. Okay, so moving to the next item on the agenda, we have a discussion of maybe developing a committee budget. And part of this, I think we have a request to support a nursing program that requires funding. And it's great that this came up because it's in line with what we saw in the previous presentation, that we have to maintain and support the healthcare sector strategies. So let's hear from Laura. She's the director of the Hawaii State Center for Nursing, to share about the program and the funding requests. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for providing time today. Does everybody have the proposal? And I'm sorry I don't have it in a PowerPoint format. Or can I share my screen? Oh, I do have share screen access. Let me see if I can share the document. It's not letting me pick a specific one, but let me make this very large for you all. Can you see the document? Something's going on with my computer.
Yes,
I can't see it. I'm glad you can see it. I see no text right now. Okay, well, as I introduced myself earlier, I am the director of the Hawaii State Center for Nursing, and this proposal is to fund 100 nurse residency or nurse resident and preceptor pairs. This is a program, a little bit of background is the Hawaii State Center for Nursing and our partners, who are schools of nursing and employers, so hospitals, for this project, identified about 10 years ago that one of the greatest challenges in nursing recruitment and retention is working in the first year of nursing. It's a big learning curve, no matter what. Everybody's first year out of school or into their first profession can feel pretty daunting, and nursing is certainly one of those careers that has a very steep learning curve, and only 85% of nurses remain in the nursing workforce after that first year with no intervention. So this program improves the retention of nurses up to, the national average is 95, and last year we had achieved 99% retention. And this is really important. I was looking at the strategies that were shared earlier for the WDC, and one of that was to support recruitment and retention, and the other was to identify high demand
Hi, Laura.
jobs. Yeah.
Sorry, we're not seeing anything on the screen, so Michelle's going to take you off the share screen and put on the proposal you submitted.
Okay, thank you. I don't know why my computer was doing that as well. They say Macs are wonderful until you have technical difficulties, and then it's like herding sheep and chasing butterflies. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing the document. I appreciate that. So this proposal, as I mentioned, it really supports a high demand role, which is nursing. Right now, with the community colleges workforce mapping, they have nursing is the #2 most in demand job in Hawaii. But the retention is really challenging. So what we see in our state is that nurses aren't just going into nursing school when they're 18. They didn't just know that they wanted to be a nurse when they were 12 and made that happen. There are people like myself who got into their late 20s or early 30s and thought, oh, gee, I need to have more stable means for myself and my family, and so go into nursing later in their careers. And so these are often people who have had careers and have acquired adult responsibilities and then move into nursing because they want a more stable outlook for themselves and their families. But the challenge is very high. So this program addresses that retention so they can stay in that job. Nursing provides considerable economic advantages. It is one of the highest, the higher wage jobs for entry to practice. And the proposal here is to actually improve the curriculum and the program and support that provides that really critical first year barrier cushion around new graduate nurses so that they don't leave the nursing workforce and they are able to attain those goals that they set off to do. The funding for this program, it's transitioning from a product that was at the top of the market and has no longer retained that status to a product that is more adaptable to each organization's needs. It is more adaptable to neighbor island needs. So we would actually be able to expand access to this program to Kauai, to an additional hospital on Hawaii Island, as well as the other islands in our state, which already have this program. It expands to high demand specialty areas. And so you can see on the second bullet here, I know it's small font, but one of the products of the work that the Healthcare Association of Hawaii did with their workforce initiative is to identify not just that nurses were in high demand, but that specialties are high in demand. And it's really hard to get nurses to go into those because they do require extra education and training. And this product provides that extra education and training that we otherwise don't have available in our state today. And so that includes beyond medical surgical, it includes emergency critical care, pediatrics, perioperative or surgical, neonatal intensive care, so that's caring for the itty bitty babies right out of the hospital up to 1 year of age. Oncology, so that's cancer, cardiology or telemetry, that's caring for the heart, and behavioral health, which we know we have high needs in. So it would help us provide more specific care and help with the pipeline into more advanced roles into nursing. And then another really critical piece is that it also trains the preceptors or their clinical mentors on how to provide the support, which there's actually secondary research that shows if you support the preceptor, not just the new grad and the preceptor have better jobs, but everybody on the unit does. And so you actually see that it creates more stability for that workforce and for that healthcare center overall. So it's really just layering on benefits. The proposal, the cost proposal is to pay for 100 of these preceptor resident pairs. I'll note that the retail price for this product is about $1,600, and we've been offered a flat rate fee of $439.75 per resident preceptor pair. So this is at considerable savings to the state. And the reason why we're asking for this money from you all, besides I think that it's a very good fit, is that the funding that our hospital partners had in our state had to be allocated to respond to COVID. There is great interest and there's a want to adopt this product because it will benefit the organizations in their efforts to have a stable and well-prepared workforce, as well as benefiting the community and having nurses who are well prepared to care for them and are able to care for them in the specialty areas that people need. But the money is no longer there from our healthcare organizations. The cost of buying PPE and the cost of bringing in travel workers has required them to shift monies around in their finances, and then they've essentially depleted their education stores. Although the need to bring on new workforce and support them in their work exists. So right now we're at this odds where we really need this program, particularly environment where we're not looking at COVID going away anytime soon, but we really, really need to ensure that this workforce that has transitioned from other careers is seeking to enter into a very stable and supportive career pathway. Even though it's very challenging, we need to support them. And the organizations now are at odds because the environment is more challenging and the resources that they had for this year have essentially gone. However, this is a stable funding source in normal times, not to use that term, but in normal times. So the request is actually just to support this first year to move over to the product. And then the hospitals would take on the contract for years 2 through 5 for a 5-year contract. And so we'd be looking at a sustainable product. We'd be looking at the opportunity to see the impacts over a total of 5 years, which is such an important threshold or benchmark when we're looking at improvement to our population. And then we'd also be able to look over time if we've been able to address some of the deficits that the Health Workforce Initiative, that's a partnership, with the Chamber of Commerce and HAH and many partners like the Center for Nursing identified, particularly in nursing. So the proposal then is to just support this first year while we kind of got the ground taken out from us because of COVID, but then not asking for that support in years 2 through 5, because we'd be looking to the hospitals to engage in that sustainable work funding within their organizations because they have that fiscal line otherwise carved out. So as you can see, I've compared, as I mentioned, to the retail product or the retail price for this product. They've brought it down considerably for our state. They were offering us, this product was offering us, in addition to $439, there's generally a $10,000 per site onboarding fee. They had offered it to us for $50,000 and they've since removed it. So again, it's really bringing down the cost. And it has become quite a cost reasonable product and is more cost reasonable than the product that we were using before, in addition to the customization. And you can see here for the state total for 100 resident and preceptor pairs, so that would be 200 nurses total statewide. The total cost would be $43,975. And then you can see at the very last page, there is, because the Hawaii State Center for Nursing is a state entity, I've applied the indirect costs. In terms of island equity, which is very important to me, I grew up in a rural community, unfortunately not in Hawaii, but I've made it here for a decade now. So rural equity is really important, and we actually improve rural equity, and you can see that we actually over proportion the impact on our rural communities if we were to move over to this product. And I think that's important because you kind of have to shift your way over and support that workforce as we work to then get that equity and leveraging at a sustainable level. But we really want to leverage those resources first. So you can see that we'd really be doing that for our neighbor islands. Maui has had a really big, significant growth in the past couple of years. So that it comes down to 15% isn't worrisome because it's not reducing their overall value. They've been hiring their new grads, 100% of their new grads into roles. So this just really supports them. So I do want to note that it's not creating an inequity for Maui, but it's improving Hawaii Island, and it's improving Hawaii where we had no support, and we're actually gaining support. So I do want to note that, and I'm really proud that we'll be able to achieve this if we move to this product, this improved equity across the islands. Are there any questions, or is there anything that I didn't address that I should address better or clarify?
Can you tell us again the dollar amount that you're requesting, just to be clear?
If you scroll down to the last page. So because I understand this it's federal monies, so there's a 25% indirect. So it'd be the $49,375.50. And then there is, if it goes through the Center for Nursing, then there's that $11,000 for indirect fees, which would total $54,969. If the Workforce Development Council can contract and pay directly to the product, and the Center for Nursing does not have to be the intermediary, and again, we are a state agency, then that indirect fee could be waived. But I think that, so I've put that in there because it is a state requirement for indirect, but if there is a way to fund the project without necessarily having to have an intermediary, it's by no means necessary. But if it goes through the Center for Nursing, I wanted to include that just so you had that inclusive amount. And that might be like government legalese that I'm speaking there, but I just want to address it. And then the Center for Nursing, we would provide all support for this transition in kind.
Allison,
So
is
this
there
is
a way for us
Alan
to bypass?
Hayashi. I gotta.
Oh. Go ahead. Go ahead, Alan.
Okay. Yeah, I have a question. The living, which is a child sectors, but I think if you're bringing in nurses from the mainland, especially, they're going to be challenged with cost of living. I would suggest you model around what General Richardson did for education and get in touch with either Hunt or Lend-Lease housing corporations, the military housing organizations. They have, or they could have, excess military housing that could be made available to nurses and doctors. So you might keep that in mind, because I think that's going to be a real challenge. You can train these people, but to retain them, you're going to have to get cost of living down.
I appreciate that comment, and I'll definitely follow up on it. I will clarify that the majority of what we call the nurse residents are actually graduates of Hawaii nursing programs, and so they've been living here, so they've kind of adapted to the lifestyle, or they're born and raised here, so they're not necessarily from the mainland.
Okay,
with physicians, certainly they are, and I know in the news we're talking about bringing in travel nurses to handle our immediate requests or responses. I will follow up on your recommendation, and thank you so much for providing it.
Okay.
Allison, I was just wondering if there was a way for us to not have that 25% fee, and if so, how would we do that?
So since the nursing center is part of the state, it makes it easier for us to enter into a agreement with them and get the money processed much faster. I think if we don't go through the this nursing center, we might have to do a procurement process. And that is very cumbersome and lengthy a process.
And if I may speak to that, the Center for Nursing, we have received monies from the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations Healthcare Workforce Advisory Board. And if we're in the agreement, what we have done is if there's a subcontractor, which would be this entity, then because it's in the agreement for funds, then we can bypass the procurement because it's already been approved through the granting of funds or through the PO. And so that is one of the benefits. I think you made the comment that somebody could have had a baby already, and I've certainly had greater challenges. I think Allison and Jean has definitely heard my story before about the length of procurement. So that is one benefit of this process. But I did want to mention that if there was expediency or if there was opportunities otherwise, that it wasn't necessarily required. I will mention, or required to go through the Center for Nursing. I will mention, however, that our existing product, I do have to close out that contract this calendar year. And so procurement is kind of the issue because we don't want to have a gap in these services. And so we do have a priority to identify a funding source in 2020. Yes, we're still in 2020. So I just want to demonstrate that constraint because we don't want to have a gap for these new grads and then really put them in dire straits at great odds with their potential for success. So I just want to mention that constraint, but also I certainly respect the process that you all have to go through, and I know that you have the appropriate pathways and channels for you as well.
Can I ask about the track record for this product on the mainland? Has there been a good retention rate with people using this? Is it kind of documented out there, or?
Yeah, so this is quite a new product. It's about 3 years old, but I will say that the organization that runs it is one of the older nursing professional development products. So while the track rate for the residency program doesn't have a 15-year history like the product we were using, it does have clout and it does have legitimacy, and it is, they have a PhD prepared nurse who vets all of their information there, and they update their curriculum at least every 3 months as needed. Whereas the old product, they were not updating it at all anymore. And the resources, so I'll talk about the differences actually. So the other product was like a bullet sheet and you would have to create the whole curriculum. So it may or may not be evidence-based. Whereas this one, they give you the whole day's curriculum. They provide you evidence-based products, and they also help support the organization. So there's considerable ease in implementing this. And I will say that about half of our partners are already using this product for other professional development. They're just not using it for the nurse residency program. And so they have been able to demonstrate, and it came with their endorsement. So we didn't pick it for hospitals. The hospitals picked this and said, this is the product that we really feel will move us forward. That said, our existing community of hospitals who provide nurse residency programs have been able to achieve in a very labor intensive way, as I just described, a 95 to 99% retention rate for nurses in that first year. So they've almost closed that entire gap that we know exists in nursing. And the cost per resident is between $43,000 and $60,000 if you lose. So if I were to start working at a hospital, I leave within my first year, I cost the organization between $43,000 and almost $60,000. And so they have really invested, and I feel like the resilience and the success of Hawaii is kind of in the community that they have developed, because it actually is performing better. We as a Hawaii collaborative are performing better than the national average when there is a retention program in place. And that's,
Okay,
and I
everyone.
We'll do in kind. So that's what I promise. We will promise to continue that community.
Thank you so much, Laura, for your hard work on this one. So I'm doing a time check. It's about 1:50 right now. I do have to call for a vote in the interest of time. Can I entertain a motion to approve and recommend this funding and proposed program to the Finance Committee and Executive Committee for the WDC?
Ms. Bernadette, I move. I so move.
Second.
Great. Thank you, Jean. Okay, so Bernadette motioned and Jean seconded. Thank you so much. And I'm sure, if you guys have further questions for Laura, she'll be able to answer that maybe offline or whatnot. So, okay, next we have a update from our State Career and Technical Education team, Bernadette.
In the interest of time, I'm going to cede my time to Troy and Vanjie to do their presentation.
Thank you so much.
Troy?
Okay, thank you everyone. I'm going to be sharing my screen and I'll put in the chat our PowerPoint or our slides so you guys can take a look at that. Let me share my screen. Okay. So thank you everyone again for allowing me to present for you today. And I'm going to be talking about our new CTE pathways and programs for the Department of Education and, what we're going to be rolling out over the next 3 years. So I'm going to start off kind of with the why. Why are we, moving towards these new pathways and programs and kind of how everything, got started. So everything started with our courses, our current courses and standards. So we have, 3 levels of courses: a core, cluster, and a concentration. And core being like the first level course, and then a cluster being a second level course, and then concentration being like a third level course. And if you look here, we have a number of courses, and not all the courses have standards. So these are the number of courses actually with standards. So in the core, we had 6 courses with standards for all. In the cluster, in the second year, we had 34 courses and only 26 had standards. And in the concentration or third level course, there was 37 courses and only 11 had standards. So we got a request from the schools to try to make sure we can get standards for all of our courses. So while we're researching standards and everything for our different courses, we came upon these alignment sheets. And this is one from Nevada. And it had, something, not only just standards, but these course alignments that really incorporated more than just the courses. And then they were also 4 course sequences, not a 2 or 3 course sequence that we currently have. And it also included things like career and technical student organizations, work-based learning opportunities, assessments, and state articulated agreements for CTE, for college credit, post-secondary options, and all these things. So we saw this and we looked at, hey, this is something that I think our state would really benefit from. We also looked at the different, research that was out there, and we found one on the National Academy Foundation, or NAF, which talked about, courses in sequence and having at least, a 3 or 4 course sequence amount of courses. And this data is on graduation rates for program participation through grade 12. So the green is if the student participated, fully in that particular program, they had an 87.2% graduation rate. Those who didn't participate had a lower. And what's funny is the ones who only participated partially and didn't finish a whole program of study or study a sequence of courses, they actually had a lower graduation rate than ones that didn't even participate at all. So, we looked at that data and we're thinking that, we need to get these students, finishing a program of study and, they'll have a better, rate for graduation. We also looked at our new Perkins 5 that we're all, moving towards and implementing this year. And it has career counseling, industry recognized certifications, dual credit, work-based learning, looking at industry labor market data, and all these things. And they all have to be incorporated, within our pathways and programs. And we asked ourselves, is our current system really able to support all these things that Perkins are asking, that Perkins requires? We also looked at the governor and state initiatives, things like sustainability, energy, film industry, looking at international trade, all these, state initiatives, and how can we create pathways and programs to support the initiatives of our state? We also looked at our 2030 Promise Plan, and in all of our all the sections of our Promise Plan, there's things about CTE, expanding our current program offerings, utilizing industry partnerships and everything like that. And we went back to our old system and seeing, does this really, what we have now, align with what we're moving towards in our 2030 Promise Plan? And then finally, we also looked at this study called the ALICE report. Some of you guys might be familiar with it. ALICE is Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed, and having an income above the federal poverty line, but really not enough to afford the basic household needs that includes childcare, food, transportation, and healthcare. So if you take into account the poverty and the amount of people that are in this ALICE category, it's about 48% of families that have children that are in that particular category, and it's almost half, right? Which kind of aligns with our Department of Education, where 48% of the students receive free and reduced lunch. So looking at not just what our state is moving towards, but also the human capital, and how can we change some of these things and give students more opportunity to get out of the ALICE or poverty level, and to really make and give them a sustainable income, whether it be going into post-secondary or straight into the workforce. So we went back to this Nevada model that we looked at and said, I think this is something that we need, and it's not just the standards, but we need something like this, for all of our programs and for our students moving forward. So we took a look at our programs of study, and this is our typical program of study that we currently have, which is our core, cluster, and concentration, which is a level 1, 2, and 3 course. And we looked at data from 1819, and there was about 10,444 students who completed 2 levels, which is either a level 1 and a level 2, or a level 2 and a level 3. So just completed, that's level 1 and level 2. The concentration courses is actually the level 3. So most students just took 2 courses and stopped. And then there's 3,020 who took, all 3. So we looked at the data and, how can we provide students a better opportunity with not just taking two courses in sequence. So we looked at our programs of study, and this is what we came up with. We're recommending a 4-course sequence, which starts off at the foundation level, and then moving into a level 2 occupation specific, and then a level 3 occupation specific course. And by the time the student is done with a level 3, they're really prepared to enter into a capstone, work-based learning, dual credit, early college kind of experience to apply what they learned in the first 3 courses and really get some hands-on experience their senior year or junior year. And speaking, I know we talked about industry recognized credentials. This is how an industry recognized credential could possibly look incorporated into our new program of study, where a student would start off with the foundations of, like, say, an automotive class. And then in automotive 1, they'll take an OSHA 10 certification, which goes over a lot of safety aspects. And then in automotive 2, that's when they might get an ASE certification, and then applying that into a capstone work-based learning or early college type of experience their senior year. So really embedding a lot of these certifications within the courses and giving students the opportunity and the best chance when they graduate, either to enter into the workforce or move on to post-secondary. But we feel that this 4-course sequence and giving students these opportunities will really prepare them, better than they have been in the past. Okay, and this is our 6 to 13 pathways. So currently, these are the pathways that we currently are offering. So we have arts and communication, which is now going to be cultural arts, media, and entertainment. We also have business, which is business management, finance, and marketing. Health services is going to stay health services. We have industrial and engineering technology, which is now branching off to information technology and digital transformation, building and construction, advanced manufacturing, energy, architectural design and engineering technology, transportation services. Then we have natural resources, which is changing to agriculture, food, and natural resources. And then public human services, which is going to branch off to education, hospitality, tourism, and recreation, and law and public safety. So I have some links here if you guys are on the PowerPoint that you can click on and you can see the full screen if you can't read it. I also have this 13 career pathways and programs. So within each pathway, there's different programs associated with each pathway. So for cultural, arts, media, and entertainment, there's digital design, fashion and artisan design, film and media production. There's business management for business, financial management. And you guys can, go in and take a look at all the different programs within each pathway. And this is the second page to that. So you can see there's all the different programs, and you can take a look at which programs are for each pathway. And like I said, there's a link here that you guys can click on and take a look at the entire document. Okay, this is what the sequence of courses would look like. So this is education and law and public safety. This is the 2 pathways that we're currently rolling out. So for education, we have learning support professionals, and this is like your counselors, your supports that are not at the teacher level. Whoops. And they'll start off with a foundations of education course and then go level 2, learning support professionals 1, learning to support professionals 2, and then their 4th year, they have a work-based learning opportunity where hopefully they get to go into a school and get some hands-on experience. Same thing with teaching as a profession. And then in law and public safety, we have law enforcement services, which really covers your police, sheriff, FBI, that kind of thing. And then fire and emergency services, which is your fire and pre-law, which is geared to a lot of the paralegal work. So this is just a sample. I do have a draft version of all of our pathways and programs that you can take a look at. And it brings up all of our pathways and programs and which courses are related to each program of study. Okay, and moving on to our timeline. So this is our rollout timeline, our kind of our draft timeline that we're going to be rolling things out. So we have law and public safety and education, which we started over the summer, which we created, ACCN course numbers for, so students can register. There's teacher work groups being formed to look at the standards and vet it. There's pathway advisory councils that are going to also look and approve standards and give feedback, and teacher professional development that's also happening. That also happened over the summer. So our first courses is law and public safety and education. This year, we're going to be rolling out engineering and architecture, health services, building and construction, and transportation services. And just as a just to pedal back a little bit, the way we came out with this timeline is we looked at our existing courses, what courses we have, and we also looked at what was the need from the field, and also what standards are available. Not all of these have standards yet. They are still being developed. So we don't have standards for everything yet. So what standards are available? And we also spoke to schools and, looked at the transition between the old programs to the new. And we also looked at our human capital. What can we physically do? We can't roll out everything all at once. So we took all of those, into consideration and created this timeline. So after transportation services, the following year, we're going to be rolling out advanced manufacturing, energy, IT, agriculture, and business. And then the last set of pathways that will be rolled out is hospitality, tourism, and recreation, and cultural arts, media, and entertainment. And I know these two last pathways are really affected by COVID right now, and we're interested to see how the industries might pivot from the effects of COVID. So we want to make sure that our students are going to be ready to enter into an industry that is going to be and that they'll be prepared for. And so that is our timeline for rolling out our pathways and programs. So remember I showed you the Nevada model and sheet. So this is a sample of our education, teaching as a profession alignment sheet that we created, which has all the courses in there. It has a student, career and technical student organization, work-based learning. When we get the industry recognized credentials, if there's any that are related, we can put them in there. And we also have high skilled, high wage, and high demand careers that we got from the Hawaii Career Explorer site. And we also have the post-secondary 2-year and 4-year options for students. And this is aligned with the UHCC and the UH, any of the UH systems, actually, not just CCs. So there's also a link there. I know it's hard to read, but you can click on the link there and see the sample alignment sheet. So if you have any feedback and questions, what are some immediate questions you might have, or what are things that we maybe should consider when rolling out these new pathways? Also, what should schools consider when choosing a pathway or program for their school? There's so many options, and we come to this WDC, maybe if you can give us feedback or help for our schools, in choosing some of these pathways and programs, what might be a good fit for them. I know different communities have different needs, industry partnerships might be available for some, what might be a good fit for a particular school, and how can they make those decisions going forward? And what any other implications that we can consider. And if you guys, we are looking for Pathway Advisory Council recommendations. So if you guys would like to be on a Pathway Advisory Council or know someone, please let us know. So I will open it up for any kind of questions or
Thank
comments.
you so much, Troy. So in the interest of time, I'm so sorry. Can I put this as an agenda item for our next meeting to provide you feedback and see if, to kind of answer the questions on this slide? Would that be okay, Allison?
Yes, we'll add that on.
Okay, sounds good. I'm so sorry, Troy. We're going to jump on to the next speaker in our agenda, and that would be our sector partnerships update. Jean?
Hi, yes, thank you. I know we are so short on time. So let me see if I can just buzz through some things real quickly to provide a quick update. Just briefly, the purpose of sector partnerships, what we do is we convene industry leaders to collaborate on shared opportunities to strengthen and grow their sector. And we also convene our support partners, so economic and workforce development, educators, et cetera, to organize and align themselves so they can leverage resources and support those industry initiatives. We do have 4 active partnerships across the state, 2 in healthcare, Oahu and Maui. We have a Oahu Engineering Partnership and a Hawaii Ag Partnership. Our Maui County Healthcare Partnership is focused on developing the CNA to LPN to RN pathway right now. They're convened by the Maui Economic Development Board. We have a Hawaii Island Ag Partnership, and their 3 priorities are these. They've been really focused on value add and marketing branding, and have also partnered with the Hawaii Island Food Alliance on this systems mapping for food and agriculture. And ultimately where they want to go is to develop an ag innovation center on Hawaii Island. So all this data will help drive a proposal for that. Engineering, we are working on engineering here. We partner with the chamber to convene these partnerships on Oahu. So UH is the convener. And engineering industry is really interested in growing their talent pipeline and understanding what opportunities exist to engage students in STEM and engineering all the way from elementary school through career. So this cradle to career concept. We know that to be an engineer, it's hard for someone to get to their junior year in college and say, hey, I think I want to go into engineering, right? Like the kind of math and science requirements have to start way back here in order for you to be an engineer in time. It can be done, and then there are also other sort of out of school opportunities that we want to make sure happen along the way. So we're using a high school complex approach. So these elementary schools, this is just an illustration. We are still deciding which complexes to focus in on, but this is Campbell, just as an illustration. You see these elementary schools feed into these middles, and these middles feed into this high school. And so we're looking at STEM and engineering activities all along these schools to see how we can support students to get to the point where they're able to pursue an engineering career. For our healthcare partnership, we've been partnering with the Healthcare Association of Hawaii, and you may know about the great work they've been doing and their demand survey. So this right side of the screen in green are the current high demand occupations. You'll notice that 3 of them are entry level, and our community colleges are doing a wonderful job trying to meet those needs and working with our industry partners. I'm going to skip this one in the interest of time, but I did want to hand it over to Keala, who's going to talk about how our sustainability plan.
And so this is our final slide. We'd like to formally be placed on the agenda for the next meeting. We're really looking at sector partnerships as a way to make Hawaii's economy more resilient. So Jean talked about our current partnerships, but because of that talent roadmap project that I talked about, we've identified future sector partnerships in those priority industries that could really benefit from a sector strategy: technology, clean energy, skilled trades, aquaculture. And so we're putting together a formal proposal for both the public sector and the private foundations to consider jointly funding an expansion of sector partnerships. For next year, the total funding that would be needed is $382,000. But as you can see from the illustration here, we believe there are multiple funding partner potentials from WIOA to CARES Act dollars to potentially Perkins, and of course our private foundations. And so Jean and I will be putting together a formal request of this committee that potentially utilizes WIOA funds to expand sector partnerships. And we would be ready at the next meeting with that request. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Kayla, Jean. We'll put you on the next agenda as well. Thank you. Our last item today is a subcommittee to address people with barriers to employment. Evan from Lanakila and Kiala are co-chairing this subcommittee. So if you guys can provide a brief update.
Hi, thank you, Yvette. Our subcommittee was newly formed last year, and we are working with the WDC Employer Engagement Committee to just see how we can help people with barriers to employment continue to access and make use of all the opportunities provided by the WDC. And so we're continuing to investigate that. Again, we're very new, and it's great to hear all of the initiatives that are going on, and we're continuing to investigate how we can support people with barriers to employment to make use of these opportunities, very simply put. And so we've been invited back to this committee as well to also support and see how we can help people with barriers access the sector strategies as well. We're just listening to everything going on and seeing, again, what other supports are necessary, and really investigating are people with barriers accessing these opportunities as well.
Thank you, Evan. Okay, sounds good. I am so sorry, folks, for not managing the agenda carefully today. And so we'll add the few items that were missed today that required any other follow-ups to the next agenda. Thank you so much, Allison and her team, for that. And then we'll also do another doodle poll for our next quarterly meetings. So for now, I'd like to officially thank you all for your participation and officially adjourn the meeting at 2:17 p.m. I really appreciate your guys' kukua, and let us know if there's any other items for next agenda. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Aloha.
Thank you. Michelle, so sorry. Is there anything else that I need?
Nope, we're good. Thanks, Yvette. It was good.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.